Hey everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome back. I'm totally on a webcam on my laptop because my phone keeps running out of space and my camcorder is not working with our video editing software. So you're getting a webcam video. So just know that if it looks a little bit crazy, it's because it is. So I didn't make a weigh-in video the past 2 Sundays. The first one, 2 Sundays ago, I was actually down to another half of a pound, so I think my grand total loss was like 2 pounds. But I had done some restricting that I thought was going to be a good thing, and it ended up being really bad for my milk supply. More on that later. And then because of tons of stress this last week, I was a mess. I have been in an addiction recovery program, like a true Overeaters Anonymous. It's not Overeaters Anonymous, it's through my church. It's called the Addiction Recovery Program, but the 12 steps are the same. Anyway, I've been part of that program for, let's see, January, February, 15 months. And March 1st was my anniversary of 11 months binge-free. Now, I am so sad to report that I will not be making it to April 1st to celebrate 1 year binge-free. When I decided to enter the recovery program, I had to pick something to be sober or abstinent or not do anymore. And so for me, it was binge eating. And me and my binges were usually something along the lines of finishing an entire thing, multiple portions at once, lots of stress, and getting mentally into a place where I felt like I couldn't stop eating. And also, typically my binges I would be completely disconnected from my hunger or fullness. It was just eating to numb myself. So my last binge was April 1st, 2016. It was a really stressful time of life with some family relationships that were really rocky at the time. That's all better, but I had a baby 2.5 months ago, and ever since then, I feel like I've just been taking baby steps toward being back into that food addiction, like just living in addiction rather than managing my addiction, if that makes sense. So what happened this past week was lots of little things that just kind of magnified into a really, really stressful, overwhelming week, and exhaustion and fatigue. Those things, which are kind of the same, but just being exhausted is the fastest way for me to go crazy. Emotionally, mentally, and with my food addiction. When I get tired and overwhelmed and just physically tired, like to the point where my bones hurt, I'm so tired. That is typically when I am at my worst in my addiction. So a lot of those things happen. Stress, feeling isolated. My husband is working tons of overtime. I'm trying to sleep train my baby. I had a QuickBooks nightmare with my job that I do part-time. It's a bookkeeping job, and all of my numbers were correct in the computer program, and I had to spend several hours going over years worth of bank statements just to double check that they were correct, and then I had to learn how to try to fix things, and every fix that I would try would erase all of the progress that I had made that had taken me several hours to enter in, and it was just like, oh my gosh, even just thinking about it just makes me want to like burst into tears. But I finally figured it out, so moving forward, it was a good thing. But when I would have those nights where, just up super, super late, just so tired and trying to figure it out and frustrated, I just was snacking. And then at the end of the week, I was I just felt like I couldn't stop eating. So even though I didn't have one of those moments where it's like I ate half of a cake or, like a whole batch of cookies or like a whole bag of candy, which is usually kind of what my binges were before, just that constant need to feel like I needed to eat and to feel like I was starting to lose control. Just eating, it's like I could not have food and not be eating it. So if I made my son like a sandwich, I was licking the knife and I was taking a bite before I gave it to him. If he didn't finish it, I was eating it off of his plate. He had dropped some snack on the floor and I was like, well, I'm going to eat that. I ate something off of the floor. Now that to me was like the tipping point of knowing that I am back in like active addiction mode right now, and it doesn't feel very good. I really beat myself up just because I was just constantly eating and eating and eating, and it was that feeling of lack of control, and it's like, okay, I need to eat something else. And it wasn't necessarily one particular food, so it wasn't just, I don't know, like just chips or just sugar or just this. It was like just anything that was edible. So it wasn't good. I didn't have a good week in that regard. Leading up to that, what had happened was I had started restricting. First, it was just I started tracking, and I didn't feel like I was losing weight slow enough. So then I started cutting my carbs, and then I started cutting back on my points because I was just feeling like things just weren't working. And it got to the point where I wasn't making the connection between my baby being super sad and grumpy to not eating enough. Because I'm overweight. I never think that not eating enough is the problem. I'm always like, oh, it's got to be something else. But I also found that I wasn't able to pump like anything. And usually, like before I was tracking and like over restricting, I was able to pump 2 or 3 ounces per side, like no problem. Like 10 minutes, boom, full bottles. And I wasn't able to pump, and I was trying to pump. I couldn't get my bottles filled. I don't pump all the time, but just like for convenience purposes, if somebody else is going to be watching her. And she was just so grumpy. She was up a lot. She just couldn't seem to get enough at night. She would just like nurse like for 4 hours straight. Like nurse, take a break for 20 minutes, nurse, take a break for 20 minutes. And I just wasn't putting the connection together until finally, like literally, I felt like I received like divine intervention from the Lord, and He told me exactly what I needed to hear. It was very direct. There is no doubt in my mind that that was my Heavenly Father talking to me directly to say, what you're doing is not working. Your baby is suffering. You need to take a break from this like obsession with trying to lose weight. It's not going to happen right now. You need to just chill out and focus on taking care of your baby. So, of course, I was freaked out thinking, well, if I'm not tracking, I'm just going to be like binging and gaining a lot of weight. And that's kind of what happened the first week. I feel like for the past several years, I've either been on a diet or I've been binging. And the pendulum just swings from like one side to the other. Until I was doing Weight Watchers, and then I was like pretty even keel. And when I was eating the high fat, low carb way, that was like paradise for me. I didn't have cravings. I was losing weight consistently. I felt like I had tons of energy. So naturally, I want to gravitate towards that way of eating. But I don't really know where that tipping point is for me. If it's like not enough carbs or just the stress of trying to control everything, or not eating enough points and cutting back even more than what like my app was telling me to do. So I've just had to clear like my mind, my approach, everything. And I've done a lot of thinking and a lot of reading and a lot of praying and a lot of meditating. And I'd like to share with you my new plan / strategy. Number one, I need to focus on myself in the sense that I need to make time for me every single day. And I feel like I'm pretty good about that. Like I will take time every day, but I feel like I need to take time to really be productive. And that has worked really well for me. And for me, like a project around the house really helps. Like I scrubbed my oven and that felt really good. You know, just getting all the gross stuff out. Over the weekend, I bagged up 5 bags of toys and baby clothes and stuff that I didn't want. I went through my closet and I got rid of everything that I don't wear or that doesn't fit. I got all of my socks and, drawers, threw away all the missing socks, or like nylons that had a run in them. Like that kind of stuff. I need to do that every single day so that I feel like I'm taking care of me and my environment and my well-being, and having a house that flows and that isn't cluttered and that's clean and tidy, that really helps me not want to just go crazy and binge. I know it's kind of weird because if you lived with me in college, you'd be like, dude, Stephanie was like the most cluttered, messy, free-spirited roommate that I have ever lived with. True story. I was a terrible roommate in college. Terrible, like the worst. Anyway, so just taking time for me to do things that help me function is critical. So I also need to work on my sleep. And if I'm feeling like overtired, I just need to relax. As far as my eating plan goes, I still need to track. Now, this might shock some of you if you've been watching me for a while, but when Weight Watchers switched from Points Plus to Smart Points, I could not make it work. I just couldn't. But the reason I couldn't make it work is because I was so focused on doing a high-fat, low-carb diet. And high-fat and low-carb do not work well with Smart Points. It just doesn't. It's a fact of life. However, I'm not focusing on a high-fat, low-carb diet right now. For whatever reason, my body was not liking that. It just wasn't. I don't think I was eating enough carbs, but I'm not going to waste any more time trying to figure it out. It didn't work. And I don't have an answer why it wasn't working. But it wasn't working. That's all that I need to know for right now. So after a lot of thought and a lot of reading about the difference between Points Plus and Smart Points and reading, I've decided that Weight Watchers Smart... I've always thought that Weight Watchers is the best program out there for weight loss. The Points Plus versus the Smart Points, I felt like Points Plus worked better for me because I was eating like tons and tons of healthy fats and not very many carbs. I'm not eating that way now, so I really believe that if I'm going to eat all foods in moderation, that Smart Points is really the best. It's going to be the best program for me for a lot of reasons. I could do a whole hour-long video on why, but all that matters right now is that I will be doing Smart Points moving forward. I have the iTrack Bites app that I will be using to track. I'm not going to go to Weight Watchers meetings just yet because I don't want to pay for it right now. That's really the only reason why. I get the support from my addiction recovery meetings that I go to every week, but we are on a debt snowball, and that extra $42.95 a month is just something that I'd rather put towards something else. Bottom line, that's what it is. I love Weight Watchers. If I could go, I would go, but right now I'm just going to choose to not spend the money there. And so I'm going to be doing Smart Points. As far as exercise goes, I am starting physical therapy this week. Pregnancy wreaked havoc on all of my ligaments in my pelvic floor area, like the whole pelvis area. Super painful, super not in good working order right now still. Like it hurts for me to stand up. It hurts after I walk. It hurts after I exercise, that sort of thing. But I start physical therapy, and based off of what happens with my physical therapy appointment, I will start an exercise program after I meet with them on Wednesday because I love to exercise. Right now I've just been walking, and the walking leaves me in pain, and so I need to talk to my physical therapist to find out, like, should I just keep working through the pain? Should I stop? but I have a phenomenal home gym equipment. I've invested in a lot of really good workout equipment at home. So I have great hand weights, I have a total gym, I have a subscription to Beachbody On Demand, and so I'm just like really excited to start working out again. I just need to talk to my physical therapist first, and that appointment will be on Wednesday when I have my evaluation. So exercise will be coming later. Right now I'm just walking because it's therapeutic for me. I love to walk. I love to get outside, and I love to push my kids in a stroller. So I'm going to continue with that. Another thing that I'm going to be focusing on just for the next little while is not necessarily doing the 21-day fix, but that was another program that just made a lot of nutritional sense to me. I look at that program and instantly it like agrees with what I think is healthy. I really think that whole foods are the best way to eat. And I like that even healthy food has some boundaries, because I do feel like, you can overdo it on even healthy food choices. So, except for vegetables. I personally just really don't think that there's too many. I don't think you can like overdo the leafy greens. Like you'd have to eat like pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds of spinach and, to really like overeat on greens. But anyway, I think that program is great. So what I did is I just downloaded that app on my phone, and just for the next little while, as I kind of get used to tracking in a healthy way and focusing on whole foods. It's not even necessarily for like portion control. It's just to help steer me toward whole food choices. So Smart Points, and kind of like with an influence of the 21-day fix philosophy of like 6 cups of vegetables, maybe keep my fruits to about 3 or 4, that sort of thing. Keep my carbs under control in terms of like picking like the healthy ones, like starchy vegetables for a carb, quinoa, oats, that sort of thing, instead of like my carbs coming in the form of like a pancake. Like there's a time and a place for that, but as my daily food choices, I do feel like they need to be whole foods. And so that's why I'm going to just kind of use that as like my influence, because right now I feel like my head is just like a mess with what I want to eat. And so the final point that I'm focusing on, which actually really should be number 1, is my addiction recovery program. I have a journal, I have the 12 steps. My addiction recovery meetings are on Wednesdays, but there's actually lots of meetings that I can attend throughout the week, but that's typically the one that I go to. It's kind of like my group where I feel safe and I feel like I've been going consistently, but I'm starting back at square one. And so the first step in the addiction recovery program is all about honesty. And so that is why I have decided to come on here and be honest and say that my binges have evolved from what they used to be into like a combination of like intense stress eating. But to me, I just have to be honest and just say my binges have just changed. I'm an addict. That's kind of a lesson that I just learned, is that, okay, so maybe I wasn't like eating an entire bag of Swedish fish all in one sitting, but like that pounding food like all day, just feeling like I'm not able to get full, like that's emotional and that's binging. It's just a different way about going about turning to food to try to cope. So I guess today, well, I'm just going to start today. Okay, March 13th is my son's birthday, so that will be an easy day for me to remember. But starting March 1st, hopefully I will be clean and abstinent, and I will be reporting on that on my videos. The final thing, I know this is going to be like the super long video, but I really enjoy making videos. But where I really felt like focusing on weight loss was not what the Lord wanted me to focus on right now. I'm not going to be focused on just weigh-in videos. I feel like getting my house in order, myself in order, exercising, So I'm going to continue with the meal planning, the cleaning, the decluttering, and I would like to start making more videos with those things. And so if you'd like to continue to be a subscriber and follow along with that, that would be awesome. I would love to have you as a subscriber. If those sorts of things don't interest you, feel free to either unsubscribe or just don't watch those kinds of videos. But I just feel like my whole life will just work better when I'm focusing on those things that help my mind feel free and clear and focused. So that means focusing on my addiction recovery program, which is really focusing, for me, it's a spiritual focus. It adds meaning and purpose to my scripture study, to my prayers, to my meditation, to my life, my relationship with the Lord. All of that comes as a result of focusing on my addiction recovery program, because it's definitely like a spiritual program for me. I do it through my church. And then the food and like my home and motherhood and all of that. I mean, it's just all in one. Isn't it all like a full like spectrum journey to lose weight? I think anybody who's been successful at weight loss understands that it's not just like eat less, exercise more. I mean, that's kind of like the fundamental idea of it, but it takes like your whole life has to shift. Your brain has to shift. Your time has to shift. Your priorities have to shift. And if my mind's not clear, then like nothing's gonna work. It's just not. So anyway, this is a really long video on a webcam, but it is what it is. So thank you if you've made it this long. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your support. I love all those positive comments of like, well, what's worked for you? Like, how are you doing on your journey? You know, that sort of thing. Like, those comments are so uplifting to me. So thank you for all of those comments that you leave, and feel free to always leave like constructive criticism, not like criticism, but like suggestions or like what's working for you. I love to hear that. So I will see you in my next video, and look forward to maybe a variety of videos. And we'll see you next time. Bye!